I could stay like this, forever following.
Welcome, Soul Tribe. I am Star, and let me be the first to tell you it is by no coincidence that you are here. So I want to roll right into the subject that I chose for this video, ego. It wasn't the original topic that I actually had chose, but me and my ego, well, we've been going the blows this week, and it reminded me how much our ego can really try to interfere with our spiritual awakening. So when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the characteristics of ego, how we can get it from the driver's seat, driving the vehicle in our life, to the back seat, and there's somebody that I want to introduce you to. So stay tuned. Welcome back, Soul Tribe. So the topic is ego and how ego can impact our spiritual awakening, as well as how it impacts our everyday life. For me, well, I gave my keys, my car, and permission to drive to my ego a long time ago. I trusted its decisions. I was kind of led around by the nose by my ego for quite some time. In 2016, when my spiritual awakening was triggered, I started really reaching down deep inside me, and I started to ask some pretty serious spiritual questions. And my ego didn't like this. I didn't know at the time, but my ego did not like this. It really started to threaten my ego that I was going someplace else to know who I was versus what it had been telling me for so very long. And it started to kick and scream. You would think that, you know, while you're going through this beautiful spiritual awakening, the ego would take a vacation and go to Vegas and leave it alone. But no, it doesn't happen that way. In fact, it gets a lot louder and it gets a lot more obnoxious. So the ego really does feel like it's going to die. It is actually just clawing on to its life. It feels like it's being shut out. It feels like it's being ignored. It feels like it can't call the shots anymore. So while you're going through this experience that is really quite beautiful, you're going through this combative ego throwing this huge temper tantrum. And so, you know, I guess hence why they say we feel so crazy when we're going through our awakening. That was definitely a pretty tough time for me. So I knew that I had to come up with something to understand how to quiet the ego. And I also knew, I guess on some level, hey, the ego has felt like it's been taking care of me for a very long time. You know, it's made some good decisions, some not so good decisions. I mean, it's directed me in good places and not good places. But bottom line is, I have to kind of ease them out of the driver's seat slowly and with empathy. Ego doesn't want to lose its job. I mean, it feels like it's done a rather good job. Now, just so you know, my spiritual awakening was triggered in 2016, and I did not know I was actually going through a spiritual awakening for 2 years. So I knew something had changed. My spiritual awakening was triggered by a tragic death of somebody that I loved very, very much. That was kind of the last absolute straw of many traumatic events that had happened to me in a very short time. And so it wasn't for 2 years that I actually somehow the information was delivered to me that I was having this awakening. So my ego really kind of was in charge, and boy, it can do its job if you don't know what's going on. So when I realized that, wow, I'm not crazy, I'm not losing my mind like I've been telling myself, I don't need to, you know, go admit myself into some place away from the world, I realized that I needed to do something to quiet my ego. If we were going to survive through this, I needed to quiet it down. So I used 3 techniques that I want to share with you guys, and I'm hoping that you guys in the tribe will also share your ideas and experiences of how to quiet down your ego. After all, we're going to be with it for a very long time. We can never get rid of it unless we're like Tibetan monks or something, which I'm not, so maybe someday. So we have to survive together in the same place in a sense. Now, we do want to get it away from the steering wheel and away from the control of the car and in the back seat. So here's some of my ideas. So number one, as all of you know, or don't know if you've gone for awakening or you are going through one, the beginning stage can be extremely emotional. It can be extremely exhausting. It's very thought-provoking and feeling-provoking, and all kinds of things start to happen. So I kind of carried that with me for a couple years, and then when I started to realize what was going on, I started to laugh. I started to have fun with it. I stopped feeling like a nutbag. I really started to do more charity work, and I would take more walks in the park, and I would ground more, and I just taught myself so many things. And I decided, if I'm going to go through this, which I know the beauty in it, then I'm going to have fun with it. I'm gonna really enjoy that. And that's kind of when the ride got a little easier and ego didn't have as much to work with because I was having fun. Okay, the second thing that I did was I learned how to meditate and how to stay present in the moment. Not as easy it may sound, it takes some work, but I noticed one thing, that when I was in the moment and I was present, my ego wasn't going crazy. My ego was too busy planning the future or protecting me from the past. But when I stayed in the moment and I was aware of my thoughts, then I didn't have that loud, boisterous, rude voice in my head going crazy. So stay in the moment and review your thoughts. Tap in every once in a while with what's going on up here, and if it's not serving you, get rid of it. So the third thing that works for me very, very well is, works for me very well, and I have been doing for quite some time, is when my ego pops its head in. Okay, we're gonna have to do an introduction here. I'm sorry, she's not gonna stop. All right, Imma. Tribe, meet my ego. Imma Right. Meet the tribe. Oh, whoa, no. She thinks it's always about her. This is not about you, okay? I need you to tone it down a little bit. Anyway, so on to the third thing, when my ego is, and it just won't stop getting in my space, and it won't stop talking, I have found that by acknowledging what the ego says, yes, you, says, and just simply saying, thank you for sharing, it stops. The ego just stops. It's been heard. Seriously. So, thank you for sharing. It works. It's amazing. So, thank you for sharing. It really does work, and it's awesome. So I gave you 3 good ideas. You guys, come on, be a part of the tribe and give us your ideas of how you silence your ego, as not only you're going through your own awakening, or how you did when you were going through your awakening, but also how you just do it in daily life. And again, I thank you all for being here, and my heart to yours.